Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC Vegas 95. Producer Jared is on the sticks. Cody Saftik is on the line. 10 fights are going down as of Wednesday.
Maybe 10 fights.
I mean, this card's been crazy. I mean, pretty crazy. They left it pretty thin, Cody, in the first place. And, you know, we've had fights kind of dropping out here and there. Fights that we didn't really know if were going to actually happen have now been confirmed. Al Nascimento is out of the situation. It's a damn mess, Cody. But we don't miss a card. So why would we start now? We've got Sergey Spivac taking on Marcin Tybura in the main event. Spivac is a minus 150 favorite. Tybura can be had for plus 130. My general take here is, I mean, this is the rematch that probably only Spivac ever asked for. Nobody else was clamoring for this, but these guys are like in that same realm of the division. They may be top 10 guys. They'll get the odd win against somebody in the top 10. When they fight the guys in the upper echelon, the top 5 kind of guys, the guys that are very well-rounded and super athletic, they tend to get disposed of pretty quickly. They obviously fought 4 years ago. Spivac was super young back then. I think he was only 25 years old. Now he's 29. The thing about it is obviously Tybura ended up winning that previous matchup, and it's heavyweight. So I understand that Spivac's young, he's getting better, but they're pricing him as a dog. Maybe I'm falling for the biggest trap ever. I took some plus 138 on Tuesday, Cody, because I just think Tybura's got better stand-up. Submission grappling may be an edge there. Spivac really lays on the wrestling on a lot of people. Is he able to, get 12, 13, 15 takedowns over the course of 5 rounds if he has to go the distance? I don't know about that. I don't know. It's just middling heavyweights. I really struggled to get to minus 150 on Spivac. I think it's a dogger pass situation. What's your take here?
Yeah, I'm going to agree. It's a dogger pass main event for me as well. It's not like there's huge dog money on Marcin Tybura, but you got a guy that won the previous matchup. And it's like, as much as, Sergey Spivac is only 25 years old, and Sergey Spivac used to fight at like 235 pounds. Now he's like 255 pounds. Like, the guy's 4 years older, more mature. He's bigger, he's heavier, he's more muscular. Like, all that's true. But his skill set, to me, hasn't really evolved all that much. His striking's fairly robotic. His cardio is not all that good. And what he relies on is when he can get on weaker foes, get on top of them, out-grapple them. But his grappling is not like super high levels. Wrestling's not all that good. So why he lost that first Tybura fight was Tybura's actually the bigger, stronger wrestler than him. He's able to take him down. He's able to control him up against the cage. He's the better striker, and he has the better gas tank. Both guys have gone like 8-2 since. They've both had success. As you mentioned, they lose when they get up right to that upper echelon top 5. Both guys got a loss to current champ Tom Aspinall. One guy's lost to Alexander Volkov. The other guy's lost to Cyril Gane. So yeah, losses only to the best guys. But the wins are fairly salty. The difference is Marcin Tybura and his salty wins over regular guys is that oftentimes he might drop that first round. Second and the third round is where he starts to build up. Second and third round is where he seizes it. Even when he's dead dog tired against guys, he does have an ability to kind of persevere, land the better shots, move forward. So in a 5-round situation, I do actually favor him with the cardio. I favor him with the striking. I favor him with the wrestling. I favor him with the experience. All the advantages he had the last time, he still has, in my opinion, this time around. So Spivac hasn't evolved a whole lot since the last meeting. Tybura really hasn't evolved a whole lot since the last meeting, but he's like good journeyman status. One guy's supposed to be this hot prospect, but I don't think anybody believes that Spivac's going to eventually be a champion. I just don't know, where does this plan B fall? You and I watched him versus Alexei Olnik a few years back, and he couldn't really take down Olnik, so he's forced to stand. His stand-up is not good. His cardio is not good. And when you look at his runs of wins and losses, it's always first or second round. Doesn't usually have to get extended to go third, fourth, or fifth. So yeah, again, Tybura, I don't think he knocks out Marcin Tybura. I don't think he takes him down and submits him. So this is probably going to end up being a war of attrition. And I'll favor Tybura. The other thing is people are saying, Tybura's 38 and he's old. It's fair, but one, his performances have not really shown much regression. You can't really look back to his last fight or his last 2 fights and be like, that don't look like old Marcin Tybura. It really much does. And again, heavyweight, so 38's not over the hill finished. And I'm not comparing him to Glover Teixeira. He's never going to win a title. But there are some of these guys that they just have the type of style where they don't take a whole lot of damage. They can fight into their later years. And, Glover at 38 was better than Glover at 35. Tybura almost does feel like he is actually as good as he's ever been. So for the short plus money, I would agree. I would take Marcin Tybura as well in this main event.
All right, we move on down the card. We've got Jose Chepe Mariscal taking on Damon Jackson. Mariscal is a minus 220 favorite. Jackson can be had for plus 180. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this is probably going to end up being a dogfight. It's a good co-main event. The fans are going to get their entertainment's worth out of it. But Chepe Mariscal, for my money's worth, is just the more durable guy. I mean, when you look at Damon Jackson, his best success is when he's able to get these guys down early, submit them early, put a beating on them early. Again, his win condition a lot of the time is by finishing his opponents. He is coming off a split decision win over Alexander Hernandez in his last fight, but that's like an outlier. Him winning decisions is not really in the cards. And that specific decision, he gets hurt pretty bad. It's a split decision, could go either way. But of course, ever since he got his new hair job, he's got that extra swagger about him. So Damon Jackson's a fun fighter, but again, he's a guy that generally needs to finish you. And Chepe Mariscal is a pretty durable, man. He's got a cast iron chin, took Trevor Peek's best punches square on the money, and survived to tell the tale. He's a judo black belt. He's hard to take down. He's a guy that trains at altitude with Corey Sandhagen, with TJ Dillashaw, with Dwayne Ben Ludwig, which is like a cast of some of the best guys in the sport. And again, he's still young-ish, 29, getting better. And I do feel like that durability and that takedown defense is going to serve him well here. He doesn't mind getting into a slugfest. He's not necessarily going to land 100 plus significant strikes, but the strikes that he does land generally do a fair amount of damage. And again, with Damon Jackson, I just don't think he wants to get into that type of slugfight. When you look at Jackson, his losses, whether it be Dan Ige knocks him out, whether it be Ilia Topuria absolutely murdered him, a lot of his losses on the regional scene before getting signed to the UFC, again by knockout, it's his low volume. Like some of these fights he's going to decision, him versus Charles Rosa, a punching bag Charles Rosa, he lands 41 over 15 minutes. Dan Argueta, he lands 32 over 15 minutes, absolutely gassed out in the third round. Him versus Billy Carantillo. That's an absolute dogfight that we're expecting here. He lands a career high 67. So that would be him throwing everything he's got. Even that next fight with Alexander Hernandez, again, it goes 15 minutes. He landed 42 significant strikes. So that's just not going to be enough against Chepe. Chepe against Peak, that's a 15-minute banger, and Chepe's throwing down the entire time. Him versus Jack Jenkins, he doesn't look great in the first round. Chepe's not a world beater. He's not going to win a title. He's not going to crack that top 5. But again, the Jack Jenkins fight, Jenkins is beating him in the first round. Chepe's not going anywhere. He's still in your face. Second round, all of a sudden he's starting to get to him. Jenkins ends up hurting himself, but it's because of that forward pressure of Chepe Mariscal. And then in his last fight against Morgan Charrier, I thought he won the first round, super close first round. Loses the second round. So it's all to fight for in the third round. And Chepe, again, he's the one coming forward. He's the one delivering the better shots. He's the one that wins the round and then wins the fight. So that kind of style against Damon Jackson, I think will pose him a lot of success. We'll reward him with a lot of success. Come forward, slug it out with this guy, stuff the takedowns when need be, tire him out in those later rounds. And if you're looking for like one of these long shot prop parlays, maybe like a Chepe Mariscal third round finish, something in the later half of the fight. But I think I'll take that money line. I don't love the price of the money line. There's a lot of money lines we're going to talk about here, Paul. Don't like the pricing on them, but we got to pick one winner or the other. And I think Mariscal gets the job done on Saturday.
Mariscal round 3 is like +7 for +1,000 is the best right now. It's a little bit early in the week. We'll see where other books open up because I mean round 3 prop at 10-1 is not great to be perfectly honest, but yeah, no, I echo a lot of the same sentiments as you. Mariscal is just the more active fighter, more busy on the feet, lands with a little bit more ill intent. The risk of getting taken down, controlled, is there, but we know he's going to be fighting tooth and nail to get back to his feet, land some strikes. And yeah, Jackson has shown a history of gassing out as the fight kind of wears on. So the one funny thing, your little reference about his hair, his new hair job and stuff, I had no idea what you were talking about, so I jumped onto the old Instagram.
Did you look? He's got a good doctor, dude. That's pretty solid.
But
like,
business
he looks
must
like
be
a completely different guy.
Business must be pretty good for him if he's getting hair plugs and doesn't have to fly all the way to Turkey to do it,
And then, dude, think about it. And then he gets in a war with Alexander Hernandez, which could go either way. He got knocked down, he got outstruck, and then the judges are like, "Damn, this guy looks pretty good. I don't know, there's something about him. I'm gonna give him the win." And he gets the split decision. So I'm not calling it a rob job. It was actually a really close fight. Kind of think he maybe did more than Alexander Hernandez. But looking good means you're feeling good. Feeling good means you're fighting good. Damon Jackson is a skilled guy, but Chepe's got that dog in him, and that's the kind of guy we like to back on this program.
100%. All right, we got Yana Santos taking on Chelsea Chandler. Yana Santos a minus 145 favorite. Chandler can be had for plus 125. I mean, it's a pretty interesting fight in terms of like how confident can you be really in either side here. I expect this fight probably to go to decision. There's a very good chance that like Chandler has some success with takedowns early, is able to control, use that frame. I mean, she was fighting at, I guess both of them were fighting at 145 when 145 existed, but Chandler's shown kind of struggles to make 135 pounds. She's pretty strong, bulky in there, whereas Yana Santos is a little bit longer, leaner in her approach. Yana throws a lot of volume. It's not exactly sort of like, it's not really powerful by any stretch of the imagination. This fight probably goes to the decision, and then it becomes one of those situations where you're hoping that, you know, two of the three judges favor the, you know, the doubling up of significant strikes on the Santos side versus the 6 minutes of, you know, cage and top control from the Chandler side over the course of 3 rounds. Fight that I think that when fight ends in split decision, those are usually like plus 300 and up. I think that'll probably be a pretty good play there. I'll lean ever so slightly to the volume on Santos, but the confidence and actually laying a hammer on this is definitely not there for me, Cody. What's your take here?
Yeah, how could you have confidence on it, right? On one hand, Yana Santos should win the fight. On the other hand, it's like grappling is most definitely her kryptonite, and you know exactly what Chelsea Chandler brings to the table, and it's that. So, as you talked about with Chandler, this is a girl that fights at 145 pounds. She hasn't made 135 clean in 5 years. And then her last fight against Josiane Nunes, it's at 135, but she misses weight, comes in at 137. So, on one hand, she only missed weight by 1 pound. On the other hand, it's like that's that crucial pound where it's like, are you going to make it or not? And in her case, she quit and said no. Wins the first 2 rounds against Josiane Nunes with this wrestling and this superior size and ability to grapple her opponents. But in the 3rd round, call it a bad weight cut, call it being a weight bully, call it being not that good. But Chelsea Chandler gasses in the 3rd round. Fortunately, you know, is able to hang on to the decision victory. But one has to wonder if she doesn't secure the first 2 rounds. This is not somebody with a deep wealth of cardio that can draw on, oh, damn, it's 1-1 going into the 3rd. I need to do something about it. It's like she's probably going to be looked at as a front runner. Now she's trying to make 135 again. So we don't know what she's going to look like until Friday when we can check out the weigh-ins. And maybe you want to wait until Friday, the weigh-ins, to put a bet or really lock this one in. But if Chelsea Chandler misses weight and she's big and she looks good on the scales, like, yeah, that weight advantage is probably going to help her. If she's drawn out and she looks awful, even if she does make the weight, she just does not look good, then yeah, Yana probably drops the first round, needs to keep this thing standing in the 2nd and the 3rd, win those rounds. So live betting opportunity for Yana Santos, that if she loses the first, maybe she could still come back and win the 2nd or 3rd, and that's kind of what I'm expecting her to do. But Chandler's going to pose problems. Now, the thing with Yana, right, is that she'd be rocking a 42% takedown defense. 42% takedown defense, which means if her opponent attempts even one singular takedown, there's a 58% chance that she would get it. Like, that's bad, Paul. That's really bad. And beyond that, girls like Holly Holmes able easily to grind her. Karol Rosa, who we're about to talk about. Karol Rosa's wrestling is not good. And yet these girls are able to take her down and control her on the ground. So Chandler's going to be the bigger fighter. She is the grappler. She is the grinder. She's not going to put up very many significant strikes. She's not really going to try to pass guard and submit you. But it's what are those judges looking at? Because if Yana's winning the first 2-3 minutes of the round with her striking, Chandler ends up getting a takedown, controls her for 2 minutes. Hell, Yana outstrikes her for 2 minutes and gets out-grappled for 3 minutes. Like, again, you just don't really know what they're looking at. They try to put an emphasis on damage over control time, and in that case, Yana's going to have more damage. Even though her strikes are generally flim-flamish, she's not really putting a whole lot of power behind it, it's not damaging blows, at least she's being active. And in her last few fights, you sometimes see that. Like, I mean, her versus Holly Holmes, she's completely neutralized. She doesn't do nothing. Her versus Karol Rosa, at least she lands 95 significant strikes, outstrikes her opponent, you know, not 2-1, but on a good clip, but still loses the fight. So you're at the mercy of the judges, and we all hate that. Neither girl's likely to finish here. As Paul mentioned, probably going to decision. If you want to just bite the chalk and hit an over 2.5 or fight goes the distance, that's probably the safest bet. But I'm leaning towards judges looking at activity, work rate, who's actually trying to finish and who's actually trying to fight. So give me Yana. Things could change with a bad weight cut, then you'd feel better about Yana. But as of now, it's like you're at the mercy of the judges probably, and what are they looking at? I can see at the end of the day, Yana giving up 2 or 3 takedowns, giving up 8 minutes of control time, maybe. But again, outlanding Chelsea Chandler maybe 42-21 or something of that nature. So it's not the kind of fight you could have a whole lot of confidence in. But because we've got to pick one fighter or the other, I'm going to go with Yana. If it was Yana Kunitskaya, I'd be on her all day. But Yana Santos, since she got with Thiago, both their careers have just gone downhill. So you hate to see it, but I hope she gets in the win column here.
Shots fired at the Santos clan.
Man, I mean, it's been bad. When he was laying pipe as a free man, he was just knocking fools senseless. She was training at Greg Jackson's, and it was still a good gym at the time. And it was like, damn, this girl throws tons of volume. She's going to be a title contender. And then they got together, and they both moved to South Florida. I don't know. That's where you go to retire, and that's seemingly where both their careers have kind of ended up. He's with the PFL now, where he's losing fights, and she's on a 3-fight losing streak. Had a kid, came back, hasn't been good since. Now she's getting Chelsea Chandler, who's super inexperienced, but Chandler's getting better every time out. Yana's getting worse every time out. So again, you can talk yourself in circles on this fight for why you don't want either of them. It's dog or pass. Well, either take the dog or just pass altogether. I'm the fool that's betting short price Yana Santos, but come on, it could be the PRP pick. That's how confident I'm in on it. It's just not. It's not there. The level's not there for me.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a guy with a fight ends in split decision without even picking a side. That's what I'm gonna be trying to look for, because I just expect it to be very, very razor close, and we know how the judges are. Nobody can come to agreement on on X or whatever the heck, any sort of social media platform. Nobody can really agree on what's good, what's bad. Everyone kind of just, it's whatever they bet. I hope that 2 out of the 3 judges bet on one side, and then one of them bet on the other side. And I'm not saying that judges bet, but probably be pretty.
But something's up.
Probably pretty profitable if they did. We got Charalampos Grigoriou taking on Toshiomi Kazama. -250 for Grigoriou, +210 for Kazama. Kazama seems like a pretty one-dimensional mid grappler, to be perfectly honest. And the big problem with him is he don't have a chin. 3 of the last 4 fights he's been knocked out. One was against Soji Saito, who, in fairness, was 2-2 at the time, but has went on a bit of a run since then. And Garrett Armfield, we talk about, we know him. It's like he's not exactly some sort of potent power puncher by any stretch of the imagination. Knocked him out in the first round. Rinya Nakamura is an absolute stud. He knocked him out in 33 seconds. I think there's a little bit of grappling capabilities, but Grigoriou, my only struggle here is price. Is -250. I don't know if this guy's very good. He's kind of just like a brawling style. Trains at Ray Longo's gym in upstate New York. So it's he's got Marab there. He's got Sterling there, I imagine, sometimes. There's a lot of, Dennis Bazookia. There's a lot of solid guys that are going to give him way better looks on a day-to-day basis than whatever Kazama can bring to the table here. This is a very, in bantamweight, this is probably the bottom of the barrel here, Cody. I will pick Grigoriou, but at -250, it's just I think this guy's super, super flawed. So I won't be betting really anything on it, except for I have a little bit. The limits were kind of short at Bet Online, but Grigoriou by knockout I got at -105 yesterday. It's 262 to win 250. That's where I'm at on this fight, but -250 on the money line kind of scares me from a guy that I think is super flawed. He should win, but a lot of things should happen when people strip down to their underwear and fight in a cage for money, and they don't always happen that way. But Grigoriou is the pick for me, Cody. What's your take here?
Yeah, same thing for me as well. I got Grigoriou. I don't know that the price makes a whole lot of sense just because, like as you mentioned, it's two fairly lower level guys. Kazama, I don't think should be in the UFC to begin with, but he's got a super fun grappling style. Like if he can just make this a grappling affair, it seems like he's got an advantage over Grigoriou. It seems like he could make a couple, good scrambles happen, take the back, try to make something of that nature happen. But yeah, he's just so one-dimensional. And we've seen this over the course of MMA history. There's guys that just have unbelievable jiu-jitsu but can't take a punch. They can't strike. They can't wrestle. They can't take a punch. And yet they're in these fights. They can win certain fights, no doubt about it. But a certain guy that can just sprawl and brawl you, keep it standing, take you into the second or third round, get on top of you and ground and pound you and not worry about that threat of the submission off his back. Yeah, those guys are going to beat them all day. It seems to me like Charalampos is that guy. Now, as you mentioned, training with Matt Serra and Ray Longo down in New York, like he's got a gym full of better guys than this on a day-to-day basis. Even just the jiu-jitsu program there, he's dealing with these jiu-jitsu wizards and these guys that are Renzo Gracie black belts on a day-to-day basis. So he's got that in his back pocket. But that's not really who he is. If you guys remember, I mean, old school fans will remember him, but Costas Philippou, who fought out of that gym back in the day, one of Chris Weidman's training partners before they had a bit of a falling out. But he was a pro boxer. Comes to this gym and just they teach him how to defensively grapple. So now he can go out there and just smash people to bits. And if they try to shoot a takedown or if he does end up on the ground, he had that in his back pocket. Grigoriou is the same thing, right? He's limited. He's not great, but the fact that he could counter grapple is going to serve him well. Now you look at the fact that he's got 8 career wins, right? 6 of those career wins are by way of knockout, oftentimes in the first round. He gets in the Contender Series where he takes on Cameron Smotherman. And Cameron Smotherman's a G. Like this guy's actually really good. In fact, he's won 3 straight fights since losing to Grigoriou on the Contender Series and will probably be back really soon. But he knocks him out in like a minute, like this kid does got hot hands. He is a striker. He likes to brawl a little bit. Then his UFC debut, for whatever reason, he doesn't really decide to strike with Chad Andeledger all that much. He decides to use his wrestling, takes him down 4 times, controls him, wins the first round. Second and the third round, maybe it's because he's not used to this wrestling-based attack, but he gassed in the second and the third. And I thought that's why Andeledger did an excellent job of working his way back into it and winning the fight. So with Grigoriou, it's like, yeah, again, he is limited, but getting your UFC debut out of the way, perfect, right? Your sophomore outing is generally a better version of you. He's 32 years old, so he's not like he's some young guy prone to make mistakes. It's like this is the version of him, but this second version, a little more comfortable, should be there. The striking advantage, he has that all day over Kazama. The power advantage, if he touches this guy, Kazama's folding. It does come down to this tricky grappling versus what Barlow sees in the gym every day, which is, again, guys like Merab Dvalishvili, guys like Aljamain Sterling, guys like Matt Favola, guys like Dennis Bazukia. He's in a good setting that if this guy throws up, an Imanari roll, or this guy throws up an armbar or a triangle off his back, like you should be able to defend it and then land some ground and pound. In Kazama's particular case, again, this is all stuff Paul's already outlined, so I won't touch too much on it, but he's chinny, man. Before he even got on the road to the UFC, he gets knocked out 6 seconds into the round. Oh, it's a flying knee. Okay, you give him a pass. Then he runs into Rinya Nakamura. Wow, Nakamura's an absolute problem. So you give him another pass. But then what do you give him in the Garrett Armfield fight? Armfield's a jabber, dude. He just throws jabs from the hip side, trying to defend takedowns and jab, right? Not saying he's not a talented fighter. I like Garrett Armfield, but at no point did I think he was a potent power puncher. And then it's the same thing, defend a few of these takedowns, mind your P's and Q's, and then hit this guy. And when you do, he falls over. Your chin's the one thing you really can't train and get any better. And so I think he's in a problem here. Could he win based on some fluky jiu-jitsu? Sure, but this is not 1997 anymore. Winning that way becomes very, very difficult unless you're Ryan Hall. And let me tell you, Kazama is not Ryan Hall. Like his last win, same thing. He took the guy down, dominated him for 3 rounds, but couldn't finish him. So why is he all of a sudden going to come in here and pull out some flying armbar type crap on Charalampos Grigoriou? I don't see it happening. So he's going to be a play for me. I'll probably have to play him a little higher than I'd like to because, as Paul mentioned, the money line doesn't feel great, but you got to bite the bullet in some spots. And to me, this is a stylistical clash that favors him well.
Oh, yeah. Just quick correction on what I said earlier. I have him inside the distance. It was like minus 105. There's like 10 cents difference. I don't think he's going to get a submission by any stretch of the imagination against Kazama. But when the price is so there's such a little difference in between the numbers, just buy that extra little bit of safety. Because like him by KO, that I see the best out there right now is like plus 105. I got minus 105 on inside the distance. So if he just happens, to fall into a guillotine or something like that, crazy things happen in MMA. Don't get greedy. We got Danny Barlow taking on Nikolay Veretennikov. Danny Barlow is a minus 350 favorite. Veretennikov can be had for plus 280. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this one's more gut feeling than anything else. Like, on one hand, Nikolay Veretennikov's a pretty talented guy. Comes over from Russia, and when he comes over from Russia, he's 1-3. Nobody over there. But since he's gotten to the U.S., he's gone on a great streak, and you can't really take away from him that some of these are some pretty nice wins. Steve Jones, Anthony Ivy, Austin Jones, Artanis the Machine Gun Young, Charlie Ontiveros back in the day. They're mostly all Texas regional show guys or LFA fluffer mid-card type guys, but he's beating at least name quality opposition on the regional scene, and he's finishing almost everybody. So he's got a very explosive style, likes to come forward. He can mix it up a little bit with his grappling, but he prefers to strike, nice knees to the body, high KO percentage. And then we see him in the Contender Series. Now this one's interesting against him versus Michael Morales, is that he drops a decision to Morales in a relatively competitive fight. Striking numbers fairly even. He does give up 4 takedowns to Michael Morales, and that's what basically loses him the fight. But as he's not getting his own way in that Michael Morales fight, you can just see in real time that he's like not quitting on himself, but like getting very discouraged and all of a sudden accepting positions and not trying to get back up as quick and, just a feel of overall defeat. And that's just very problematic to me because Danny Barlow is one of these young, hot prospects that has shown in that last fight with Quinlan that he can fight a full 3 rounds and he's going to be hitting you the entirety of that 15 minutes. So becomes a problem for these guys that if they have durability issues, they're going to be a problem. Or if they have, again, confidence issues, because eventually, it's all fun and games to walk in there and get into a striking battle with a guy and hit him with combinations and you hit him with your best shot and he hits you with your best shot. But in this case scenario, if he does that with Danny, he's either going to get cleanly knocked out or Danny's going to hit him and it's going to cause him to be like, I don't want to attack anymore. I don't want to throw combinations anymore. And you'll get a guy that's retreating on the outside, throwing jabs, throwing low kicks, more so trying to survive than win the fight and thrive. So I know that's like it's me going on a limb here and just thinking Veretennikov's going to quit on himself, but that's kind of the impression that I get. And again, he's coming on a short notice, so if his cardio is not great, once he feels that hand to God, then he's going to start changing his opinion. And so with Danny Barlow, of course, the nickname Left Hand to God, I've seen this guy in person, man. I've seen him in this punch machine at the venue. There was like 200 people had punched it prior to him. He just kind of walks over casually, hand out of his pocket, flips it out, punches this thing, and it's like damn near breaks it and sets a record. Like he's got God-given power, and if he hits you, it's going to be a problem. Southpaw stance, fights long, very physical as a person. Again, it's just all about how quick can he learn all the other skills and get well-rounded. He's from a small gym in Tennessee called the Law School, but Brian Hall, their head coach, he fought in Bellator. He fought around back in the day. He fought some pretty good guys. Like the gym's basically built around him, and how can we get Danny as good as he possibly can? So again, he's got a great support system. He's got great sponsors. A guy that wrestled in high school, has a wrestling base, very physically strong. Now he's not relying on his wrestling game as much, but just knowing that he's got good hips, good athleticism, knows how to wrestle, it's in his back pocket. That should serve him well because a guy like Veretennikov is going to get hit and probably decide, I want to take Barlow down. So Danny's got to stuff these takedowns, keep this thing standing, and then put the beating on him. So that's how I see it going. Again, you look at that last fight with Quinlan, I thought, to this point, everybody he touches just folds down, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Josh Quinlan took everything he had in those first 2 rounds. And I thought Barlow was starting to fatigue a little bit, or at least he was starting to get figured out a little bit. Like that same 1-2 move wasn't working anymore. And what was the plan B? And what was the dig deep? And what was the perseverance? This is his opportunity to show a little bit of something. That's exactly what he does. Ends up knocking Josh Quinlan senseless in the 3rd round. You look at the numbers, though. He had landed 95 significant strikes in less than 2.5 rounds. So yeah, I mean, the guy's got volume, he's got power, I think he's a mentally strong guy, he's got the athleticism, he's still young and improving day by day. And I don't think this is a guy that challenges for a world title at any point in his career, but as he gets better, he's going to be a problematic matchup for a lot of these low-end fringe 15 guys or anybody outside of the top 15. So short notice opponent that prefers to strike. This seems to be the type of fight that he should thrive in. But minus 350 is where I kind of draw a line here, is that we like him. He's undefeated, but there's still stuff that you got to know. Like
the grappling
one loss
is
as
the
an
question.
Amateur, he got submitted, right? Took a pro grappling match like last year, I think, also got submitted. The grappling is an issue. Yeah, he can stuff a few takedowns here and there, but somebody might trip him up. Someone might catch a kick. Someone might whatever the case may be, the fight gonna hit the ground at some point. That's where there's question marks. And at minus 350, you want the whole story. You don't want to know ifs, and, or buts, right?
Yeah. I mean, the grappling match that he took, according to Tapology at least, against Christian Eccles, it went to decision at least.
Yeah, sorry. And Eccles is a black belt, and he's a local guy from Tennessee. He's actually pretty cool. Bellator veteran too, I believe. But yeah, all the same. This is the UFC. Not saying Veretennikov's a world beater on the ground.
No.
But
at minus 350, these are the risks. These are the risks.
Yeah,
these are the risks that are in play here for sure. I mean that reach that Barlow has. He's 6'2" at this division. He's very, very long, 79-inch reach. He's gonna have a 5-inch reach advantage over Veretennikov. Like at range, I'm sure Veretennikov can handle himself a little bit, but yeah, Barlow seems like an absolute terror. And credit where credit's due. Veretennikov has. His pro career started pretty ugly. I'm sure there's lots of people who go 1-3 in their first 4 pro fights, and then they just hang them up and never fight again. Well, this guy's, went on a 11-1 run since then. Only losses against Michael Morales on Contender Series. Got wins over Anthony Ivy, DeMarcus Jackson, some at least relatively notable names along the way. So I highly rate Barlow. I think if he has a good sprawl and brawl, this guy could make some real headway or make some real moves up the welterweight division. But I guess we'll find out if he's able to stop takedowns, because he hasn't really been matched up that way from what we've seen on the UFC scene. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED lights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, we got Karol Rosa taking on Pannie Kianzad. Karol Rosa minus 200 favorite. Pannie Kianzad can be had for plus 170. Seems like a Pat Mayo special, Cody. I mean, you were already talking smack about Karol Rosa, saying she isn't a very good wrestler. I know Pannie Kianzad has her own struggles with, takedown defense, everything like that. But minus 200, I just kind of think that this fight ends up being a relatively competitive striking affair between the two of them, and maybe turns out to be a little bit of a coin flip. And at that type of price, I found a plus 180 earlier this morning and took Pannie Kianzad. That's where I'm at here. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be closely contested women's MMA matchup, striking battle. Both girls stand up on the feet. And Karol Rosa, again, this is someone that I used to really like to back, as a fighter. It's like this, she goes out, she's got tons of volume. Like her first fight with Laura Procopio, she lands 165 significant strikes in her UFC debut. It was crazy amount of volume. Here's the thing, though. She eats 156 significant strikes. She's got no striking defense, but she can throw. She's got a good chin. She's got a BJJ black belt. She's got good, on paper, areas to her game. She can grapple, she can strike, she can fight 15 full minutes, but it's that ring IQ, Paul. It's that ability to tie it all together. Seems to just be evading her. When she wins, it's generally lower level girls that she's able to just swarm. But anytime she takes that step up in competition, either she gets overpowered, because she's a natural 125er, I believe, that just fights at 135. It's not that physically strong. You've seen her in the clinch get out muscled. You've seen her when she does get taken to the ground. No real get up game. But beyond that, it's just her ability to just switch to a plan B if things aren't going her way. And so her last fight, it's just very frustrating. She lands 206 significant strikes and still loses the fight. How is this possible? But she just goes leg kicks, leg kicks, leg kicks. Lands 75 or 80 leg kicks throughout the fight. And even though her opponent, Irene Aldana, just starts boxing her up and countering her and punching her straight down the middle, square in the face, she just doesn't do anything different. She attempts 0 takedowns. You're BJJ black belt. Your opponent is a fairly one-dimensional boxer, and she outboxing you. Why would you not at least attempt to take her down? And that's Karol Rosa's other issue. Despite this BJJ black belt, despite a little bit of judo credentials, she hardly tries to take down anybody. Her Yana Santos fight, she attempted 1 takedown. Against Aldana, 0. Against Norma Dumont, 2, and got none of them. Against Lena Landsberg, she got a few takedowns, but of course, that's Lena Landsberg. Her inability to like commit to any one single game plan or switch to her opponent's weak area is just massively concerning. And because she's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights into her UFC career, and all 9 fights have gone to decision, there's no finishing ability. She's not submitting opponents. She's not knocking out opponents. So again, this is someone that's earmarked for a decision, win or lose. And again, now you're at the mercy of, did she do enough? And in my opinion, oftentimes, no, because she's just so passive. She's just allowing the moments to escape her. Either she's on her back and time's ticking away and there's no sense of urgency, or she's standing up in front of her opponent, countering with some rinky-dink leg kicks, getting punched square in the face, and not doing anything about it. So I can't, especially when she's a favorite, I can't really, with any degree of confidence, say Karol Rosa would win the fight. She's an underdog, sure, she's got skills, and it's going to decision, and it'll be competitive, and it's another fight that very well could be a split. Why not take Karol Rosa? But as the betting favorite, not doing it. Now, it's more so just not, he hates Karol Rosa, but there's nothing significantly good about Pannie Kianzad. And that's not necessarily true. Pannie Kianzad, at her best, is a decent striker. She comes from a striking background. Her at her best, she can throw up volume. Her little 4-fight winning streak in the UFC, she lands 98 against Jessie Jess, 103 against Betch Correia, 92 against Sanjara Eubanks, and 124 against Alexis Davis. So you know the volume's there all day, right? You know she's trying to finish. She's decent in the clinch, knees to the body. It's her takedown defense is a problem. You know, her ability to get off the cage is a problem. Someone that just spams cage control like a Raquel Pennington, she's not going to be able to defeat that. Someone that like Macy Chiasson that's going to shoot multiple takedowns and stick to you and take you to the ground, take your back and rear naked choke you, she's going to have a lot of problems with that. Karol Rosa don't do that. She don't chain wrestle. She don't stick to the game plan of pinning you up against the cage or trying to take you down for the entire round. She's cool with just playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots in the center of the cage. And there's no roar of the crowd. So, you know, she's just going to stand there and you guys are going to exchange and the judges are going to have to determine who's got the better shots getting in. Pannie's not the biggest power puncher herself, but I feel like she does land the better shots than Karol Rosa. And Karol Rosa just got some frustrating ass style to watch that it's like, I don't know. It's dogger pass, total dogger pass, total CF dot model. Pannie Kianzad's got a plus number next to her name. That's my pick this week.
Here's the most useless stat that really doesn't hold any bearing, but I thought was completely hilarious while you were talking there. Lena Landsberg has 2 knockdowns in her career. One of them was against Karol Rosa. The other one was against Pannie Kianzad.
And didn't finish either of them, but she knocked
Of course. I mean, she lost both of those fights, but she got knocked her entire career. I mean, very middling. You know, frankly, lower level, especially in the later realm there when these two fought her. You got knockdowns against both of them. That's absolutely bizarre. But I mean, if all is equal and they're both getting knocked down by Lena Landsberg, give me the plus 180 or plus 170 or whatever the best price you have available to you. CF dot model is in play for Rosa versus Kianzad. All right, we'll move on down.
The distance. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's minus over 2.5 is minus 470. Lots of people are thinking the same thing as you. Obviously, it's probably a very, very safe parlay piece there for sure. But over 2.5, our fight goes to the distance minus 450. What I see out there right now. So gonna have to find some other legs to add to that there, Cody, man. We got Karl Williams taking on Jhonata Diniz. Karl Williams is a minus 200 favorite. Diniz can be had for plus 170. Diniz is like a Brazilian kickboxer, power puncher. Big question marks that I have here for him is like that fight against Austin Lane. First round, Austin Lane, football player, doesn't have a wrestling pedigree, comes out, gets a takedown, holds him down for like 4.5 minutes. We know that that's all Karl Williams wants to do. And he's been successful in doing that. All of his fights have went to decision. He's won all of his fights by decision. There's been some greasy spots along the way. Chase Sherman fight comes to mind where he only had like 1 of 10 takedowns. Well, the rest of the fights is like he's able to stick to that game plan. He's able to get those takedowns. And a lot of the times people get back up. But with what I see from Diniz's skill set, I don't know if he's going to be able to get back up. It is heavyweights, and obviously it's very, the rounds always start on the feet. So until Karl Williams gets those takedowns, you're going to have your butt completely puckered. But give me grappling, small cage. Don't have to move too much to cut off angles and get this guy up against the fence. Make sure you protect your head while you're sinking underneath and peel him to the ground, rinse, repeat. I think Williams by decision, but there'll probably be a couple moments that you're, super, super nervous because heavyweights are going to do that to you. And Diniz is obviously super live to land a bomb, get a knockout, put an end to Karl Williams' winning streak, but not for my money. What about you?
Yeah. On paper, this one should just be very straightforward. Karl Williams takes him down, controls him, wins a decision, rinse and repeat over 3 rounds. Easy money. The other part of it does feel very trappy, being that Karl Williams is either he's good or he's pretty average at best. But there's a lot of red flags to his game. One, former light heavyweight, only start fighting at heavyweight very recently. Not the biggest guy going. Poundage, yeah, he hit the scale at 250, 260, but he wouldn't be considered one of those monster 250, 260 type guys, right? He's fast, but he's not finishing guys at heavyweight. You look at this 4-fight winning streak he's got from the Contender Series and 3 straight in the UFC. They're all by unanimous decision. He's not looking to rock you with huge ground and pound. He's not really looking to pass guard and submit you. He will take you down over and over and control you. But again, if it's going to go to decision, then you're at the mercy of the judges. If he's not trying to finish or he's not finishing, then a guy like Diniz is going to have multiple opportunities to get a little bit of striking going before the takedowns, start the new round, ref stands you up, whatever the case may be. There will be more opportunities if you're fighting guys constantly to the distance. And again, when he's good, like Jimmy Lawson on the Contender Series, Jimmy Lawson wrestled D1 at Notre Dame, right? Karl Williams takes him down 3 times as a 2-1 underdog, dominates him. That's good, Karl Williams. Lucas Brzezinski takes him down 8 times, knocks him down on the feet, but also 8 takedowns, pure control, low ground and pound, low numbers, but pretty decent performance. The Chase Sherman fight, right? This is the first of the bad. He went 1 for 10 on takedowns against Chase Sherman. He couldn't take him down. He relied on superior hand speed, staying to the outside, popping him twice in the face, and then running out of town. But it wasn't a clean performance. And again, if we're banking on this guy's an elite level wrestler, taking guys down like Jimmy Lawson at will, the 1 for 10 against Chase Sherman is super problematic. But hey, he washes that bad taste out of our mouths with the 7 takedowns over Justin Tafa. The problem with that fight being is that the first 2 rounds, he easily takes down Justin Tafa and neutralizes him. The 3rd round, he's gassed. He gets hurt bad by Tafa. If Tafa would have fought a better game plan and just created some space and backed away and got him to stand back up, he may have been able to win it. Unfortunately, he engages Karl Williams and Williams ends up getting on top, and that's the end of the round. But I'm thinking now that he's got lackluster cardio, he's got not the greatest durability, especially because he's a light heavyweight campaigning against these bigger guys. And if he goes 1 for 10 against takedowns against Sherman, then yeah, if he goes 1 for 10 against 1 for 10 in takedowns against a guy like Diniz, then he's going to get knocked out standing. So yeah, 2-1. It actually is just a greasy heavyweight fight. Why would you take a favorite in a greasy heavyweight fight? But that's like the more you think about it. On paper, we got wrestling all day. The reason that I can sleep at night knowing that I'm taking Karl Williams here, and I have to be okay with it, is that, yeah, I'm being hard on him. Like all these guys, he's got multiple takedowns over, right? Brzezinski, the 8, with Jimmy Lawson, the 3, Justin Tafa, the 7. Those guys are able to get back up. Diniz has shown zero ability to get back up. And that's the great thing. People say Brazilian kickboxing standout. And yeah, the guy was okay. Wasn't a world beater. He fought good guys like Daniel Guida, Enrico Verhoeven. He lost those fights. Fair game to him. He was a good kickboxer, not a great one. But you're either going to be like Alex Pereira, who's a world champion kickboxer, and stuff takedowns and get back up and work with Guy Glover Texera for damn near 10 years now and get that black belt BJJ, you'll be a guy like Cesar Almeida, where if the guy takes you down, you are screwed. You can't get back up. When you do get back up, you've got 2 punches before he takes you back down. Those guys need to rely on their opponents gassing out. And whereas Karl Williams might gas out, he'll only gas out if you cause him to work, if you cause him to have to take you down again and again and again. And that means you got to have a get-up game. And Diniz has shown no get-up game. Like that fight with Austin Lane, right? Austin Lane took him down one time in like the first 30 seconds, and then he spent 4.5 minutes on his back. And then the round ended. 4.5 minutes. In that 4.5 minutes, it did not look at any point like he had the slightest clue what he was supposed to be doing, other than hold on and survive. It wasn't like he was hipping out. It wasn't like he was regarding. It wasn't like he was able to neutralize Austin Lane. You know, he did a great job of surviving 4.5 minutes with Lane on top of him, who was fresh. But that's all it was. It was just survival. So to me, Karl Williams has taken down better guys than this. He's laid on top of better guys than this, and that's probably what he's going to do here. Decision, likely, but again, the dude's a 33-year-old kickboxer. Like, is it crazy that Williams might just pass him out and punch him out? Like, no, that's not crazy either. But Williams doesn't really seem like he's doing a whole lot on the ground. So part of me just thinks this is another clear-cut decision victory. The other part of me is like, yeah, okay, sure. There's a chance at least that Karl Williams wins the first 2 rounds. Colossal third-round underdog status for Diniz. Karl's huffing and puffing. Diniz stuffs a couple takedowns, avoids them, and puts them away. Yeah, certainly possible. But this is MMA. Those are the possibilities of it. So I got to go with Karl to get the job done, man. And again, if I thought Diniz was one of these, like, you know, high-end kickboxers who was only 29, who was grappling multiple times a day and really starting to close that gap in his game, then it's like, yeah, dude, live underdog. I love me a live heavyweight underdog. This to me screams more the Cesar Almeida case, where it's like, is a guy that was a glory kickboxer 5 or 6 years ago, that career option's not there anymore because he's not a top-ranked kickboxer anymore, first of all. And second of all, there's no money in kickboxing. So now they look for other avenues. And, oh, geez, my other guys that I used to train with and used to fight with, and these guys are all going and getting paid in MMAs. I'm going to do the same thing. And they win a few fights. They get matched up soft. And, you know, he makes his UFC debut and he wins it against Austin Lane. Crazy. Huzzah. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's got serious limitations. And same thing with Cesar Almeida. Had he knocked out Roman Kopylov with one of those counter strikes in the second or third round, people would have been like, oh, this guy's good. But he didn't. You know what he did do? He got taken down and controlled some more. So that's when people turn on you. Diniz hasn't had that moment yet. No one's been able to do it to him. But now the UFC's given him a guy that specifically does that, which is lie on top of you and neutralize you and make it a boring grind of a fight. So it's, again, if you're betting on stylistical matchups, this one, you've got the style favor in your hands all day. But we still need Karl Williams to go and, you know, do his damn thing and get the victory. So play for me as Williams, get the job done. Just another fight on a whole bunch of fights that you will be puckered watching this thing, especially late.
Oh, yeah. Like the first, 30 seconds of every single round, you'd be absolutely puckered. But, like, you can't ignore the fact as well, just before we move on to the next fights, that, like, Deniz's fight against Austin Lane was April 27th. So it's like, it was 3 months ago. I'm sure the guy's working on takedown defense, but it's like, how much better is he going to get from what we saw in round 1 against Austin Lane to now? Probably not enough. I mean, the stylistic matchup here outside of a knockout at heavyweight is he's got to go in there and do the job. Do the same thing that you've been going in and doing against these other suspect grapplers, Karl Williams, and he may even get a finish. That's the thing, is that, like, maybe his grappling's that much better, so much better than Diniz, that the decision prop may not be as juicy and free as it kind of appears. That could kind of be a trap. All right, anyway, we move on down. We've got Youssef Zalal taking on Jarno Errens. Zalal is the biggest favorite on the card at minus 415. Errens can be had for plus 315. Cody, who you got?
Yeah, it's like I'm a Zalal believer again. This guy debuted in the UFC with a nice little 3-fight winning streak. He looked like he was going to be a legit prospect. And then just, I don't know, tough fights, bad spots in his career, unfortunate style matchups. But yeah, he went on a little bit of a winless streak, 0-3-1, 3 losses and a draw. And then the UFC releases him. Since then, I mean, on the regional scene, no one wants to fight him, but he's taken whatever he could, including winning that King of Sparta one-night tournament where he took a pro boxing match, a pro kickboxing match, and then an MMA fight, all in the same night, winning all 3 of them. So again, Zalal's still only 27. He trains at Factory X Muay Thai, one of the top gyms in the state. Definitely one of the top gyms in the state, one of the top gyms in the country. Yeah, again, I mean, this is a guy, he's always had skills. It's about getting that confidence and getting comfortable and putting it all together. So he can strike. He's known as the Moroccan Devil. He's known for like a nasty flying knee, nasty low kicks. As far as his UFC fights goes, they've been a tad low volume, but he's mixing a lot more of his wrestling in play. Him at his best seems to be when he's able to get his wrestling going, take his opponents down, control them. He's got an excellent back take. slick jiu-jitsu, reminds me a lot of a Brandon Royval, and similar to a Brandon Royval, had some hiccups in his career, but once this kid ties it all together, he's a problem for a lot of guys. So that comeback fight in the UFC, keep in mind he takes it on short notice against Billy Q. Billy Q's tough. He's a BJJ black belt. He's got tons of volume, tons of cardio, and furthermore has never been submitted. Been knocked out one time. I think Edson Barboza flatlined him, but you can't submit Billy Q. He's so wiry. And yet Zalal absolutely dominated him. The first round, he completely dominates him, takes him down, smashes him, takes his back, puts him in a rear naked choke. Billy's going to tap, saved by the bell. And that's about where it ends. The second round, he just picks up exactly where he left off, dominates Billy, submits him. That's a very quality victory. When you consider this guy's now in his second run in the UFC, and he's still only 27 years old, he's already mixed it up with guys like Ilia Topuria, who he went the distance with. And first and only time we've seen Topuria tired in a fight was that third round against Zalal. There's a lot of great stuff you can take away from this kid. I think the sky's still the limit for him. Errens, meanwhile, Errens is very much specifically, you have to match him up with a certain type of fighter. So if you match him up with a completely one-dimensional striker, Errens will strike with you, man. Classic Dutch-style Muay Thai, loves to pound that lead leg, likes to throw in combinations, very strong guy. Does have a bit of a judo base, and in theory, he's a mixed martial artist. You know, he'll throw up a armbar or a triangle off his back, but he is one-dimensional, and he just wants to strike. So UFC gives him guys like William Gomez that would strike with them. Maybe it would be a good fight. But even Gomez is smart enough to realize, I can just take this guy down. And so that's Aaron's problem, is that he has like a 26% takedown defense. Like he can't stuff a takedown. And he's 1-2 in the UFC, the one win being his last fight, Steve Nguyen. 100 significant strikes landed. Absolutely beautiful striking performance. Even Nguyen, who's brain dead and concussed and looking up at the stars, is able to shoot one takedown and get it. Aaron's takedown defense is a massive flaw. So if Zalal wants to come in here and strike with him, be a fun fight. And I do still think Youssef Zalal could win, but it would be making it way harder on yourself to fight this guy in the only area that he could possibly have success. What you could do is strike for a minute or two and then plant him on his ass. Take him down, take his back, choke him out. I think that Zalal's just leaps and bounds better of a grappler. Either it's going to be a quick submission or it's going to be one of these fights where you can just absolutely neutralize him, take his back, backpack him, dominate him for periods of the round, and stay safe. But in both scenarios, I think Zalal wins. When you look at this card, right? Shame he's not the co-main event. Tybura's 38. He's a gatekeeper. We love him. We're picking him, but he is what he is. Spivac would be considered a prospect still, but I'm not picking him in this fight. I'm just not that high on him. Chepe Mariscal, like Chepe Mariscal, but he's not going to crack into the top 10. Certainly not the top 5. Damon Jackson's a gatekeeper. Barlow could be a legit prospect. There's some reservations there. A lot of these other guys are older. Yana Santos, Chelsea Chandler, is she a prospect? Grigoriou, sorry, is 32. Kazama's no good. Karol Rosa's no good. Pannie's in her mid-30s. Karl Williams is a decision guy. Zalal could be a top 5 guy. Zalal could be a title challenger. I don't know if he'd be a world champion, but I see no reason why this is not going to be lined up for some big fights in the future. This seems like the last time you're going to get him at. He'll probably not be minus 400, but he's going to have to fight much better guys. This seems like it's the last time he's going to fight a nobody ranked outside of the top 20. So I think he just absolutely smashes through Errens. You and I talked about this fight yesterday personally, and it was like, yeah, Zalal's the guy this week, and he's at like minus 340. Now, like, I don't know, 3 hours later, he's pushed to 400, and it's going to keep trending in that direction. Don't be shocked if he goes off at minus 5, minus 600 range.
One of my other books that's like, they don't really give you great stuff on money lines. They kind of take a ton of VIG, which is like the numbers in between, essentially. It's kind of nasty on that front, but they have half decent props. But yeah, they already have them at like minus 500 on that website. So like that's the direction that it's heading right here. I think the play is that's what I was taking while you were talking, is Zalal by sub. He seems to be smart. He knows the value of, he's already been here, lost his job, had to go back to the regional scene, come back. It's like, why take unnecessary risks, try to have a fight of the night performance in front of no crowd in a warehouse in the outskirts of Las Vegas? Like, go in there, get a takedown, fish for submissions. If you're able to submit Billy Quarantillo, you should be able to find a way to the back or find a way to submit Jarno Errens. Don't make this fight any harder than you need to. I took plus 310. Zalal by submission. We got Stephanie Luciano taking on Talita Alencar. Luciano, a minus 150 favorite. Alencar can be had for plus 130. This fight happened on Contender Series, ended up in a draw, and Dana, what exactly happened there?
Yeah, so
So
the first two rounds are Talita Alencar. The third round,
yes,
Luciano. All three judges give her a 10-8 round. It ends up being a draw. They're both
Dana
sitting it there at the end.
only signed
Luciano.
Luciano because she's younger and put up a lot of volume, showed a lot of heart, hung out on the
Tried
ground
to
with like a
finish.
pretty high end grappler. So I can understand why he saw her as a prospect for whatever reason. I guess like she had dengue fever, so she hasn't fought since Contender Series, and they're running it back here. I suppose, the grappling could still be on the table. It's big question marks, but it's like if you've already fought Alencar, you know her setups to the takedowns, everything like that. It should make the job a little bit easier the second time around, as far as I can see. And we know, like, these days, unless, like, grappling outside of, like, Abu Dhabi, where it's, like, all Russians and stuff, and, the judges seem a little bit maybe skewed towards towards that style. Wrestling just doesn't score nearly as much. So if Luciano can hang out on the ground, if she does get taken down, just don't get submitted. Keep this fight standing. I think at minus 150, she's probably fair price, or she's probably a fair favorite to be betting this week. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. With Luciano, it seems like this is kind of her style, is that her takedown defense is not necessarily great, but her grappling defense is pretty solid. And it's not as if that Talita Alencar is the only BJJ black belt world champion that she's fought before. She has a win in LFA over Michelle Oliveira, which is the exact same case, right? High-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, world champion, switches over to MMA, supposed to beat her. Luciano's a 2-1 underdog in that fight, and she's able to survive all the positions, make this a real fight, land the better shots. The last time she fought Alencar, she's like 22 years old at the time, 23 years old at the time. She's still very young, very green, gives up the takedowns, gets controlled in the first two rounds, and then really starts to bring it on. Now, a year later, it's like I do expect Luciano to continue to fill out her frame, to continue to get more comfortable, to continue to get better. The dengue fever one throws me off a little bit because I didn't really know anything about it. But Paul told me a great story yesterday about his buddy. And then the Spark Notes version was you'd have to be a dirtbag to get this. Like seemed like it was dirty
No,
conditions.
I never said that.
Paul, you basically called your buddy a dirtbag.
No.
Second thing is about a month.
You get it from like mosquito bites, I believe.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I think that's where you mostly get it. Like the jungle.
Yeah,
like
I told you
Thailand,
this.
place like Brazil.
So yeah, I guess Cody's alluded to it a couple times. We actually already recorded this show. We recorded it on Tuesday. We had a little bit of like, basically our device didn't record it, so we are doing the show over again. And yes, my friend went over to Laos. She went on one of those river or one of those tube cruises, was going down some random river, doing mind-bending drugs and drinking copious amounts of alcohol. That was kind of.
Did I say anything different? I'm pretty sure I summarized it perfectly.
I mean, anybody who goes on one of these adventures, like, you know what you're getting yourself into. But yeah, I mean, you could go there and like go hiking. You wouldn't necessarily have to be. My buddy happened to be a dirtbag and got dengue fever, and then he was sick for a month when he came back. But it's like you could just go hiking in like, the wetlands in Laos or Thailand or Cambodia and get the same thing. So I would say not all people who get dengue fever are dirtbags, but you have a higher likelihood of acquiring them. That's what I would say.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. So then I guess my only takeaways from his story was that Paul's body's a dirtbag and took you about a month to recover, right? Paul says about sick for a month, and like you drop a bunch of weight.
He's in good, like he's a good athlete, like AAA hockey player growing up. And like this is when he was like 24, 25. So it's like he was young, very healthy, doesn't like smoke, obviously drinks and did drugs, but yeah, no, it's he's like in very, very good shape. So it's like it took him a month to recover, and he said it was super, super rough. Like it's definitely nothing to bad, not like it's something to bad, like it's super serious.
Yeah, like you wouldn't expect someone to fight with it, no doubt.
No.
I guess my concern would just be like, Luciano pulls out of a fight with Dengi 5 months ago. So let's say she is sick for that full month and she does lose some weight, and then now you start to feel better. That's 2 months in. By 3 months in, you're starting to feel yourself, and then you put in a hard 2 month training camp. You're coming in. You have not competed in about a full year. Yeah, maybe there's going to be some ring rust. Maybe you're not 100% in shape. Maybe there's some type of residual drawback for your performance. But again, she's only 24 years old. So I think she should be trending in that right direction to getting better, making improvements, regardless of a couple of health issues here and there. Talita Alencar, though, again, she's 33, and where she's a 6-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, excellent grappling. That's about where it ends. Her striking is still a little bit stiff. She's not overly confident with her submission offense. So when she gets these takedowns, she's mostly just holding you down and trying to maintain a certain position. If this fight's going to go 15 minutes, again, it's going to be up to the judges. But Luciano's the better striker. Luciano's faster. She's more explosive. It's just, can she close up that gap in the takedown defense to keep this thing standing? Alencar did get one fight in after. Even though she didn't get the contract that night, they did bring her in to fight Ryan dos Santos, and she does end up getting a greasy split decision. But Ryan's a former 105-pound fighter who's so far 0-2 in the UFC. And yeah, I mean, again, she got outstruck by dos Santos. It comes down to like the last 15 seconds. She explodes. The judges probably turn their head up, wake up, and say, oh man, that's the last thing I saw. I'm just going to write Alencar down. And she gets the win. It ain't pretty. It's not very dominant, but she shows a lot of the same problems that she did against Luciano. We're taking that chance that even though she's been off for a year, you haven't seen anything, that there's behind the curtains been improvements, and that she will come out, stuff more takedowns than not, keep this fight standing more often than not, and eventually get either a late TKO or a decision victory. So I'll take Luciano.
And finally, we got Quang Lee taking on Chris Gutierrez. Quang Lee coming in on short notice. Gutierrez minus 370 as a favorite. Lee, who was supposed to fight on Contender Series, gets the call to step up and in after Javid Basharat had to pull out due to injury. I was considering Gutierrez as a dog pick against Basharat. It really obviously comes down to the takedowns, but it's like Basharat showed in the Aben Zahabi fight that's like, one, he didn't necessarily like commit to what was his best stylistic matchup. It was just an ugly performance from him all the way around. Gutierrez has been exposed in the wrestling department, but from what I gather from Quang Lee here, it's like he's got some submission wins. It's against like lower level opponents, but from what I gather, he's mostly a striker. I don't know if I love betting Chris Gutierrez at minus 370. I'm very curious to hear what you have to say about this one, because from my perspective, Gutierrez being at minus 370 against another striker, a guy who usually finishes guys in the first round, but it's very, very low level of competition. I don't know. I just don't know if there's too much meat on the bone. What's your take here?
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the greatest price, just because, yeah, again, bantamweights. I mean, Chris Gutierrez, he doesn't necessarily get the most finishing abilities, so a lot of the times it's him just outpointing you over 15 minutes. Loves the leg kicks, loves to do these little, smaller blows that pay dividends, right? Like the leg kicks, like some body work, like some flashy stuff, like using the jab. But again, you're now being submissive to the judges, and what do they like? Do they like the superior volume? Do they like this little stuff that doesn't look great, but is actually very effective? What are they looking at? Our buddy Adam Ripkowski, my buddy A-Rap, we worked with him for 10 years, but still to this day, I'll watch fights with him, and it's like, he'll be like, man, the guy in the blue corner is winning. And it's like, how do you figure? And it's like, well, he's landing a couple good punches. And it's like, man, he's getting his leg blown off and he's limping on it. And it's like, well, I don't count leg kicks as much as I count head strikes. And it's like, but why is that? Because it's visual, right? One of them, it's like, oh, damn, that was a big right hand. It snapped his head back. There's a little blood coming out of his nose. The other one, it's like his knees popped off, dude, and he's losing his mobility and he can't move. And on the strike numbers, you'll often see it. It's like, oh, both guys have landed 12 punches to the head, and one guy's landed 26 leg kicks. But that's not ever really like factored in as much. So Gutierrez, it's like he often fights to the level of his opponent, and he's leaving these fights close. And here's not a weird stat for you, but these are his UFC wins. Ryan McDonald cut instantly. Geraldo de Freitas cut. Vince Morales cut. Andre Ewell cut. Philip Corrales cut. Dana Batgirl cut. Frankie Yeager retired. Haile Alatang Haile. He's still on the roster. Just snapped a 2-fight losing streak. Like He's still going, but that's it, dude. The rest of them are extremely salty guys that came in for 2 or 3 fight stints, lost to Chris Gutierrez, and then got released. His step ups to Pedro Munoz, to Song Yadong, to Cody Durden, if you can believe that one, a flyweight. He didn't win those fights. So Durden was a draw. It's not like he lost that fight. It was just, how is it a 10-8 first round, man? That's bad judging. Bad judging. Bad judging, Paul. But Chris Gutierrez kind of plays into that bad judging sometimes. So I'd be down to fade him on a lot of guys. I probably would have faded him against Javid Basharat, but can't fade him here. Really can't. Quang Lee, yeah, maybe tries to take him down. I doubt it. I think he's going to try to stand with him. Quang Lee's more of a striker himself, but yeah, he's just this fight, there's so much on the line. Both guys don't know it. Nobody knows it. This is the highest stake fight for both guys when they're representing here. You got one guy, Chris Gutierrez, okay? He's a 12-fight UFC veteran. He's in the prime of his life right now. He is 33 years old, so like this is it, baby. You're a 12-fight veteran. He's headlined his last card. His last fight against Song Yadong, a top 5 guy, headlined in the Apex. So you're coming off a main event, 12-fight UFC veteran, got wins over guys like Frankie Edgar, fought guys like Pedro Munoz and Song Yadong in competitive-ish defeats. This is it for you. The other guy's 32 years old. He's 1 year younger. He was about to be in the Contender Series like 3 weeks ago or 3 weeks from now. Okay? So he's 7-4 as an amateur. Of those 4 amateur losses, he finished all 4 times. His amateur debut, he got knocked out in 9 seconds. Then he got knocked out by this Elmar Hernandez into the second round, minute 53 in the second round, got submitted in a gamma loss, and then got submitted by Gabriel Wanderlei, and then goes pro. Pro in 2021. He's got 3 years of pro experience, coming off a lackluster 7-4 amateur run. He's 32 years old and was about to fight in the Contender Series. If this guy can just walk in and beat Chris Gutierrez, a tenured guy that headlined a card in his last fight, if this guy can just walk in as a 32-year-old nobody and win from the Contender Series, then Dana's going to cut half the roster. Because why on earth would you pay guys like Chris Gutierrez a 40-40 or a 50-50, damn near $100,000 if they win, to fight nobodies and go to decision with them and be competitive? When this guy, quite literally, a 7-4 amateur, pro for 3 years, fights mostly low-level guys, was about to fight for a contract in the Contenders, can just walk into the UFC on short notice and beat Chris Gutierrez. That's a problem, dude. That's like the levels is gone. It's gone now. There's guys in every single organization that could, in theory, walk in and beat a guy that headlined a card in his last fight, right? That shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen, and Chris Gutierrez has got pressure on him to defend the goddamn gate, dog. That's where you're at right now. You're a gatekeeper, and defend the gate. Do not let this Contender Series guy walk in here and put the beating on you. So,
because there's
just out of
49 others coming on Tuesday.
Yes.
Season
the
starts
whole
on
roster
Tuesday.
is
It's like,
in jeopardy.
if you are on like a 2-fight losing streak right now, your butt is puckered as much as some of some of these fights if you have money on it. But it's like, yeah, if you've lost 2 fights, your contract's getting a little bit high. There's 50 or basically 50 fights. I think there's usually 10 weeks of Contender Series starting on Tuesday. So like, the cuts are coming. It is what it is. So in terms of bets that I've got this week, I've got Tybura plus 138 on the money line. Charalampos, Grigoriou inside the distance minus 105. I see like KO plus 115 out there. If you must, that's probably how he gets it done, but probably better to just take the inside the distance just in case. Kianzad plus 180 on the money line, and Zalal sub plus 310. Interested in Santos Chandler to end in split. Best I see right now is plus 275. I'm going to get greedy and wait on that. We'll see if I can get like a plus 340 or something like that when more books open up. We are just about out of time, though, Code. You know the drill. Hit him with the PRP.
Hit him with the PRP. A little tight on money line plays, but the only good takeaway that we lost yesterday in the lost episode of Dogger Pass was we were talking about how since they got the new gloves, ain't nobody getting finished, and these over-unders have been real hot, so I'm playing a lot of over-unders again, as the last 2 weeks have been money on that. For the PRP, we're going with Marcin Tybura, dog number 1, Chepe Mariscal, Danny Barlow, Chris Gutierrez, Yana Santos, Shambalos Grigoriou, Pannie Kianzad, dog number 2, Karl Williams, Youssef Zalal, and Stephanie Luciano. I had a dog number 3 yesterday. We were taking Jafel Fio, talking about how Alan Nascimento is always sick and like things are going on with him medically, and then he pulls out. So
Yeah,
I'm down to 2 underdogs, Paul.
I'm already counting that one as a win. That was a plus 170 win. The guy was going to be sick. We were going to win that bet.
I know. Unfortunately, the books don't pay you out for that. No. And I got a couple parlays that I now are locked in with this 170 that they're going to give me a push on. So doesn't matter. What does matter is the right people need to win. So whether it's the top 2 lines, top 3 lines, or hopefully the whole damn PRP, just need the right people to do the right things and the right judges to be looking at the right things.
Which is a big ask.
Which is a big ask in 2024, man. Big ask in 2024. Last week, we relied on a bunch of Russians to get the job done for us on the parlays. This week, we're going to need people from all types of countries to come together in straight unity and hitting the PRP for us. So let's hope for the best, my brother.
Yes, sir. All right. That is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For producer Jared and Cody Saptic, I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.